Now that we are officially halfway through the calendar year, I gotta say, 2017 has been a damn good year for movies so far, and Spider-Man Homecoming did not break that trend. I'm not entirely sure where exactly to begin when it comes to reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming, so the best I feel I can do is point out two major things that this movie did that I feel a lot of other comic book movies have fallen short on. The first is in regards more so to just the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've been pretty critical of it in recent years that it's gotten a little bit stale, that these origin stories, while they're still enjoyable and I still like them, I will still go see them, it's left me wanting a little bit more. And that's why things like Deadpool and Logan felt so fresh, felt so exciting, because it was something different within comic book movies. I felt Spider-Man Homecoming did a good job of straying from that. This didn't feel like just another MCU movie. It felt like something that was stepping outside of what's kind of been tradition, and maybe part of that has to do with Sony Pictures being involved, but in general, I really enjoyed that aspect. It didn't feel like your typical Marvel type of progression of a superhero. The other thing, and probably the more important thing, was that this was somewhat of a reboot. We had a new actor playing Spider-Man. This Spider-Man takes place and exists within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unlike the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man characters, and they didn't treat it like you would expect them to a reboot. I had my complaint with Batman v Superman a year ago, that they showed us the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne yet again. We know that happened. We know the backstory. Treat us as an audience like we do know that, and let's just get on with it. Spider-Man Homecoming does that. Maybe small spoilers there, but we don't deal with the whole field trip to somewhere and this magic spider bit Peter Parker, and now he has these powers. We jump right in. We jump in set 2 months after the events of Captain America's Civil War, so Spider-Man is what he is essentially, and I just felt like they respected me as an audience member by doing that, and it felt so refreshing. Moving on from those first 2 points and getting into reviewing the rest of the movie, all in all, I just really enjoyed it. I felt the first 2 acts of the movie were just very fun. They weren't necessarily edge-of-your-seat entertainment. At no point was I like fist-pumping, hell yeah, but I was just enjoying myself, even if it was only moderate to, medium-high enjoyment. And a movie that can do that can keep you pulled in, that at no point you're thinking, get on with it, that's a good quality. That's the case with the first 2 acts of the movie, and then the third act was like, hell yeah, let's freaking do this. I thought the third act was absolutely spectacular, and included one scene in which there's this tension between 2 characters that are in close proximity that was, in my opinion, just really excellently done, as I struggle for any other words to properly describe that scene. Damn. I also have to say that I was pretty surprised at how much this movie revolved around the aspect of being in high school. Peter Parker is definitely a 15-year-old kid, and I didn't know for sure going in that the title Spider-Man Homecoming was actually in regards to the homecoming dance, which is a little bit of what's built up to, and some of the story sort of centers around. But there's also a lot of other aspects of high school. A lot of things take place in a high school class or on the academic decathlon field trip type thing. And so I thought it had a really good balance of being a high school movie and a superhero movie, to where you can look at it afterwards and feel like, was it really entirely leaning one way or the other? Really, if there's one complaint that I could maybe nitpick from this movie, it's that Marvel seems to be a little bit in love with the high-tech, gadgety type stuff for its superheroes. That's awesome with Iron Man, and I think everybody gets that, but I felt like they brought that in quite a bit too much for a little while with Spider-Man. Now, in some ways, they make up for it as the movie goes on, but for a little bit, you feel it's like, this isn't Iron Man doing this is Spider-Man. I like sort of a superhero to be a little bit rugged in some ways, and again, some payoff there a little bit, but a little too overboard in one department. But as far as any nitpicks go, that's pretty much it, and that is not a big one. Overall, this movie, again, was just a ton of fun. All the actors gave pretty enjoyable performances. Michael Keaton is having kind of a career renaissance the last few years, and this was absolutely another step in that right direction for everything he's been doing lately. Tom Holland was great as Spider-Man. I thought he had a great balance of 15-year-old kid, but also 15-year-old kid trying to be a superhero that does maybe a dumb thing or two, because that just feels like it would be within his character. Some of the supporting characters might have felt a little bit quirky, but in some ways, you sort of need them to be that, and they weren't overused to where it was agitating in any way. Overall, Spider-Man Homecoming, it was something to me that felt like a very, very solid 8.5 out of 10, but for people that would give it as high as something like a 9 to 9.5, I can totally see that. So, I would be curious to know what everybody else thought about Spider-Man Homecoming. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? What were your thoughts about the first couple acts, especially in relation to the third act? Whatever you thought about it, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Give this video a like if you don't mind. I always appreciate that. But above all else, everybody, thank you so much for watching.